PRAinsider.com. My guest is Josh Bernstein, talk show host, author of the book Preserving Liberty, Bold and Brave Solutions to Save America and Create Permanent Freedom. Follow him at jbushow.substack.com, jbushow.substack.com. You're an idea man like I am, and you've got a couple of ideas. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be back on the program with you, bud.
So you have an idea for how to pass the Save America Act. You're not done with it yet. You're not willing to walk away from it. You're not panicking. You got an idea. Tell everyone what the idea is. Let's hear it.
I got my button on.
Baby.
Pass the Save America Act. So look, Kennedy has come out, right? Senator Kennedy has come out, and he's talked about using budget reconciliation. Now, in its current form, there's no way it would pass. I agree 100% with Anna Paulina Luna. I agree 100% with Mike Lee. However, he's on to something. Because here's the thing. Right now, it is election policy. But what if we turned it into fiscal policy rather than just election policy? Here's how this would work. Obviously, ID is a big part of this, right? So what you do is you put money towards that, especially the lefts like to have this argument that, oh, we can't afford driver's licenses, yada, 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 right? Well, you tell the states, okay, I tell you what, we're going to give you the money so that that's not an excuse anymore. And that would cost about $700 million to give that for all the states. The second thing
you're saying that makes it a fiscal bill because you're spending money.
We're getting there. Right. Then the next thing you do is how do you implement it and how do you enforce whether or not people are legal citizens or not? Well, you have to spend money towards that. You have to set up the infrastructure so that these states can have almost like an e-verify type of system. Once that does that, now you've put a little bit more money into it. Between $1.25 and $1.5 million of taxpayer money would have to go to this. But here's the thing. Now, all of a sudden, this is fiscal policy, not election policy. It will pass the Budget Control Act and or the Byrd Rule, right? And then from there, you would then send it to the Senate parliamentarian. It would likely pass the Senate parliamentarian. If not, they would make suggestions on what else needs to be done, how much more money you have to throw to it. We've got smart lawyers, as Kennedy likes to say. I'm sure they can come up with the right language. Now you have a 50+1 with J.D. Vance. You can put it into the budget reconciliation bill that will fund ICE and the DHS till 2028, along with anything else you need. And we need to tell President Trump, and President Trump needs to say this publicly because they just came out and said that they're sidelining the SAVE Act. No bill will be signed by the president unless it contains the Save America Act. That is something that you and many others need to get to the president. So that was the first thing.
And the only asterisk I'll give you, because my election expert is a guy named John Goodman from down in Florida, and he's a brilliant guy. He says, yes, it's okay to say that with an asterisk. The asterisk is we will not sign a single bill except for funding DHS, ICE, and transportation, because that has to be done. Our airports are going to attract terrorists. People are going to be waiting in 3-hour lines again. You have to find a way to make sure you pay the TSA. And you have to pay ICE and you have to pay DHS. So that's the only exception, because we look like the good guys then, not the bad guys.
But the problem is if you give the Senate an exception, now all of a sudden it's no longer the rule, and they will kick it down and they'll say, oh, we did one more bill. It's getting too close to the election. We don't want to mess with it. And that's how they operate, right? So we have to put everything into the one big beautiful bill. They put so much into it all at one, and it got passed. We need to do the exact same thing. President Trump needs to say that. He needs to say no bill will be signed by the President of the United States unless the Save America Act is in it. Period. End of story. It is the most important thing. It's more important than DHS.
I just think we can't be the ones who stop funding TSA. We have to make sure it's always Democrats that stop funding TSA, not us. So that's the only exception I'd give. Other than that, it's a brilliant idea. I'm on your side. With one executive order, you say President Trump could cause a constitutional crisis for Virginia. What's your idea there?
Well, obviously, we saw this power grab, this unconstitutional power grab, and this redistricting effort in Virginia, which, by the way, is absolutely going to fail. I agree with Ken Cuccinelli, who said that this thing's dead on arrival. Now, if you looked at Judge Hurley's decision to put that injunction together, My goodness, was it brilliant? Was it meticulous? He dotted every I, he crossed every single T. There was 31 constitutional violations in his injunction. So this thing is ironclad. And so more than likely it's going to fail with that alone. But let's just say it didn't. Here's what President Trump should do right now today. He should issue an executive order that clearly says that Alexandria and Arlington, Virginia are no longer part of Virginia. They are now part of D.C. This was something from 1846.
That's all the government employees, right? So all the government employees live.
There's 8.8 million people in Virginia, and this would be about 5% of the population, so about 440,000. Now, the downfall is that you're putting 440,000 more people into the swamp. But the other part of this is you lose 440,000 voters in Virginia, you're going to go from blue to purple to red almost instantly. And you're going to get 13 electoral votes rather than the 3 electoral votes that DC has. The reason is because during the times of slavery, Virginia wanted to protect their right to keep slaves, right? Of course they would, right? And so because of that, they were worried that DC was going to interfere and not allow them to do that. And so what happened was DC said, hey, here you go. You can have these areas, Arlington and Alexandria at the time. This is 1846, a long time ago. And you can have it back. Well, that was done illegally and unconstitutional.
And wasn't that done with a presidential? Wasn't that a presidential order as well? So you could undo it with a presidential order, right?
As a matter of fact, there was 2 presidents at the time that tried to fight it. And the only reason it didn't get to the Supreme Court is because World War I broke out. So this has never been adjudicated in front of the United States Supreme Court. So if President Trump drops this executive order right now, tonight, obviously it's going to be challenged immediately. It's going to be overturned. It's going to go to a higher court. That's going to be overturned. But you know what? Eventually, it's going to go to the Supreme Court on an emergency ex parte, right to the Supreme Court, and they can adjudicate it. It's never been adjudicated once before, ever. So between this judge sending this injunction and this eventually maybe going to the Supreme Court, this is a 8-1-9-0, shoot down for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, Josh,
redistricting.
you said something interesting. You said the only negative is that you'd have 400,000 more people in D.C. Who cares? They don't get to vote. There is no electoral votes, right? Washington, D.C. doesn't count in the Electoral College, correct? So it doesn't matter. And they're all liberals. They're all government employees. So Trump should do it. There's nothing stopping you from doing it.
Let him know, please.
Yeah.
Tell the president you're close to him.
I will. Josh Bernstein, we're headed to a break. I appreciate you coming on. 2 great ideas. As always, good idea, man. Josh, thank you.
God bless.
Good man. Josh Bernstein, talk show host, author of the book Preserving Liberty. And you can follow him at jbushow.substack.com.